Listen, this is not going to be a long vampire stream. It's not going to be a long one. But we got to talk. I think I figured this thing out. And I had to tell you on the vampire stream. We'll see how many vampires we can lure and we'll get right started. This is crazy. This has just happened. And I just seen something. And we got to talk. What up, Fight World? Your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. We're going to talk about it real quick. Where are the vampires at? This is insane. Insane. Raul, Aaron, what's up? Man, I've been thirsty as hell. I'm waiting for a few more people to join because I don't know how many people we're going to get, but this is insane what I just heard Eddie Hearn talk about. Insane. Chanel, what up? You know, we're going to get started shortly. I need max audience, though. Yo, smash the like button. The sooner y'all do that, the sooner more people are made aware of this stream. Because this is not going to be a long vampire stream. It's not what? I don't get what you're saying. You said it's not. It's not what? That's part of the 8-fight plan, mate. What are you talking about? What 8-fight plan? I'll check my email. But what are you talking about, the 8-fight plan? What are you talking about? Listen. I just figured out the game. I see what they're trying to do. Wait till a few more people join and we gonna get it. We gonna get it started. I can't wait. This is some real new media detective work. Passive student. I had to do this one. This is not gonna be a long stream or nothing, but I want you guys to hear this, and I wanted to do it live. I just did a video about it too. This is insane with this Joshua. Like I firmly believe that they don't want the Wilder fight, firmly, because it's too. When something happens, when something happens too frequently, it can't just keep being coincidences. You get what I'm saying? It is always something, you know. That ain't no coincidence when it just keeps happening over and over and over and over again. You know, that's a pattern. Fuck a coincidence. That's a pattern. And with Joshua Wilder, it keeps happening like clockwork that something impedes Joshua fighting Wilder. Passive student, I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to wait for a few more people for the vampire stream. Y'all gotta smash the like button. The sooner you guys smash it, the sooner we can get this thing started. You know, because I don't want to keep going over it. I'm not even going to be here that long on this particular stream. I don't know what he was talking about with this 8-fight plan deal. No one cares about an 8-fight plan. They want to see the Wilder Joshua fight. If Joshua beats Povektin and Wilder beats Fury. Yes, it's Cursor. That's it. The vampire stream. Holland Future. I got one for y'all. This is crazy. Wait till y'all hear it. That's what I'm saying. Hit that gas. Hit that like button. I'm not starting until we get a few more people in here. Because like clockwork, this is what happens. I start talking and then people just randomly start showing up. And then I got to repeat the whole thing. Oh, hey, what I meant, you know? Because people don't want to wait for the replay and all that. The vampire stream. We on that Nosferatu. I like that. And I want to get this one off. I got to get this one off the top of my... That's a good point. Ransom. AJ came out and said Deontay Wilder going to be on his way out soon, and they still not talking about fighting Wilder. I'm confused. He said he has like 2 or 3 years left. So why not do everything you can to make the fight now? It's like you want him to get old and crippled. Man. I'm packing to go to LA anyway. I got one for y'all. Is this it? This is the crowd we got for the vampire stream. I know YouTube ain't been sending out my notifications. We got 150,000+ and they don't be sending notifications. Like crazy. I'm saying Eddie was talking shit way back in the day about having an 8-fight plan for AJUCJ. It's obvious they don't want the Wilder fight mate. Oh yeah. That's why they keep saying, oh, you know, Barry Hearn said the same thing. He said, oh, if you were going to retire in 6 months, then I would tell you to fight him. But since you're not, I'm going to tell you, wait 2 years. I got to just say it. Fuck it. Like, I'm feeling antsy. I was trying to wait for more people to come in. Y'all ready? Y'all ready to break this down? Y'all ready to break this down? If y'all ready for me to break this down and talk about what I discovered, new media style, can I get a hell yeah in the comment section? That's it. You know, fuck it. We'll just run it. We'll just, if they not here, then they gonna catch the replay. If y'all ready, can I get a hell yeah? Listen, I need some energy. I don't care if it's late. I don't care. We work. We don't get tired. Let's go. If y'all ready for this work, new media style, can I get a hell yeah? Okay, Sergio want to hear it. Passive student, Raul. All right, I'm going to break this down. This is crazy what I just uncovered. Okay. Now we getting somewhere. Now y'all motivated me. Okay. Fight Hype did an interview with, listen, I'm going to break it down. Fight Hype did an interview. Let me go a cappella real quick. Fight Hype did an interview with Eddie Hearn. It's just uploaded. They're asking him about Anthony Joshua beyond Povektin. Listen.
On the Fury announcement or press conference.
Well, I mean, it baffles me. They're concentrating on their fight coming up, but we will probably have to make our move on it.
Listen.
And for voluntaries, or to ask for a voluntary defence.
He will have WBO mandatory, so is that correct?
He will have a WBO mandatory. The WBO mandatory will be called next. Now, you will always have the opportunity to either try and make a unification fight, there's only one to make, or to ask for a voluntary defence. But after the WBO one, the IBF mandatory will be called as well, which will be his next fight after the next one. So I don't know, November, December next year will be Huey Fury or Pulev. So like you ain't really got a lot of time for voluntaries, so you might as well just fight your mandatories, or vacate belts, or fight unification. So again, our preference 100% is to fight Deontay Wilder in April. But when they won't reply to your emails, they won't get back to you, how the fuck are you supposed to make that fight? So we have to do what we've got to do. I know they're concentrating on their fight coming up, but we will probably have to make our move on our fight, you know, 3-4 weeks after Wembley. So if it's not Wilder, then it has to be probably the WBO mandatory.
Okay. This Fight Hype interview, I'll give you guys a link in the comment section. It has 99 likes and 71 dislikes. People are catching on. New media. Here's the link to it. Shout out to Fight Hype for the interview. And listen to what just was said. He just said beyond Povektin that Joshua is going to get called for the WBO mandatory, right? Meaning immediately after facing a mandatory, he's going to have to fight for a WBO mandatory. He says unless they do a unification, because they don't have that much time for voluntaries. They could request to get a voluntary defense in, but a unification trumps a mandatory, right? Cool. Wilder would be a unification. It trumps everything. He says, but with the rate things are going, Wilder is not responding to emails. So they're only going to have a very limited time. So we might as well fight our WBO mandatory, right? New fucking media. I did the research. Check this bullshit out. Check this out. So I'm like, okay, you're saying you want to fight Wilder in April. That's your preference. If you had it your way, 100% you want to fight Wilder at Wembley in April in the UK. But he's not responding to your email. Already set up the excuse. You know, oh, he's not responding. How's he going to respond to an email when he already has his own fight with Tyson Fury that he got to focus on? What is he going to say? Why would he respond to an email when we don't know how Povektin's going to look in his next fight? We don't know how tough his fight with Fury is going to be. You know, what is there to really respond? Why would he respond when you guys have been giving him lowballed offers and flat rates? And you know what I'm saying? And they're saying they have 3 to 4 weeks after Povektin fight. So the Wilder fight's not till November, December. So how is Wilder going to get a fair split if he has to negotiate 3 to 4 weeks after the Povektin time? You guys see where this is going. So Wilder's stock, if he knocks out Tyson Fury, because he's knocked out everybody. So if he wins, most people would speculate that he would win by knockout, right? If Wilder wins by knockout, his stock raises. Eddie Hearn's already setting the excuse that they have a very small window after the Povektin fight, 3 to 4 weeks. And if they can't negotiate a unification, then they have to fight their WBO that's going to get called. Did everybody hear that? Everybody heard that clear? I got to make sure you guys are on the same page. And I'm going to tie this all together. This is too easy, man. New medium. Did everybody hear him just say those things? He says unification trumps everything, but we can't get in touch with Wilder. But we got to act fast. We have 3 to 4 weeks after the Povektin fight, right? So if you only have 3 to 4 weeks after Povektin, how are you going to see what happens in the Wilder Fury fight, which a victory for Wilder, especially an emphatic victory or knockout over a guy like Fury, lineal champion, would clearly boost and bolster his standings, you know, his respect level. He should definitely be worth more money, but you don't have that type of time because you're saying the WBO is going to call the mandatory, right? Okay, everybody heard that. Now check this. Here's the kicker. I did the research. This is crazy, people. Wait till I show y'all. I'm new media, man. I just did the research and looked at so I'm like, okay, see, I listen to what people say. And I looked up the WB rankings. Look at this bullshit. Hold on, y'all. Look, new media style. These are the current WBO rankings from August 2018. That's the newest. It just turned September, right? Anthony Joshua, we know he's the champion. Look who is rated number 1. Alexander Povektin is the highest ranking person with the WBO. Underneath that is Dillian White. So Eddie Hearn is claiming that the WBO mandatory is going to get called and they're going to be forced to fight him if they don't act soon. So why is Povektin, who fights Joshua next week, why is that not classified as a mandatory title defense if, as of August 2018, Povektin is the highest ranking person with the WBO? Since he's fighting this guy right here, Alexander Povektin, that should kill 2 birds with 1 stone because Povektin is the number 1 highest rated WBA mandatory, and he's the highest ranking WBO mandatory. So this is the bullshit that game that they're playing. Now the WBO is basically saying, even though Povektin is the highest ranking person, so Joshua in fighting this highest ranking person next week, that's not going to count as a mandatory defense for the WBO. Then they're going to call the WBO. If Povektin loses or gets knocked out to AJ, look who's number 2, Dillian Whyte. So the stage is already set. They're going to say Wilder he's not responding and he's so hard to deal with, and then we got forced by the WBO to fight our mandatory. But this is bullshit because Povektin is ranked higher than Dillian Whyte, and Joshua's about to fight this man next week. So why does that not count as a mandatory for the WBA and the WBO? That's bullshit. You know, so you mean to tell me Povektin, let's say, hypothetically, we'll just play devil's advocate. Let's say Joshua knocks out Povektin next week. So in knocking out Povektin, that doesn't count as a mandatory title defense, even though as of August 2018, he is the highest ranking person. So they're going to let him get knocked out, and then 3 to 4 weeks later say, guess what, Joshua? You got to fight Dillian Whyte, who moves from the number 2 spot to number 1 because you just knocked out Povektin, and Dillian Whyte is now your mandatory, and now we're calling it. Yes, and AJ already fought Dillian Whyte and knocked him out. I mean, this is repulsive, people. This is repulsive. You know, it makes no sense. Povektin is he is the number 1 rated person with the WBO and the WBA. There's no reason why this upcoming, because look, as of August 2018, the fight for the DAZN fight between Joshua and Povektin is September 22nd or whatever. So since he is currently the highest ranking, why does that not count as a mandatory defense when he's the number 1? You're going to call the mandatory after Povektin loses, if he does lose, you know, obviously. If he does lose to Joshua next week, then all of a sudden you're going to call the WBO. Oh, why didn't you just why didn't you say this is the WBO mandatory right now, since Povektin is the leading guy? You're going to wait till he gets knocked off and then call the WBO mandatory and say you got to fight Dillian Whyte? It's a wrap, bro. They no smoke. Come on, man. There's no other. Eddie Hearn just told you the game plan. There's no justification for that. There's no justification for that whatsoever. Since Povektin is the highest ranking WBA and WBO number 1 rated person, he's the highest ranking, and you know Joshua, the champion, has those belts, the WBA, the IBF, the IBO, and the WBO belt, and you're going to allow him to fight Povektin and sanction it, but then that doesn't count, even though as of August 2018, he is the number 1 guy, and that doesn't count as a mandatory. You're going to wait till he gets knocked off if Joshua can beat him, and then all of a sudden say, oh, now we're calling your WBO, who conveniently happens to be Dillian Whyte. Man, somebody's getting paid behind the curtains or some shit, because this doesn't even make sense. Like I said, this stuff can't happen that much to the point where it's not orchestrated. There's not that many coincidences in the world, you know. This is bullshit. Povektin is rated number 1. He's the highest ranking person, but you're not going to allow the you're going to just say, oh, that just satisfies the WBA mandatory, but it didn't count for our WBO belt, even though you're sanctioning the fight. Come on, man. Make that make sense. It'd be one thing if Povektin was rated number 2 and then Dillian Whyte was already currently rated number 1 with the WBO, but it's not. Povektin is the WBO highest rated person, and he's the highest rated person with the WBA. And you're going to say that the Povektin title defense only satisfies the WBA? So conveniently, Joshua, he's going to get to fight Povektin. If he gets past him, then the WBO is going to call for the Dillian White fight, because there's no way Povektin is going to stay #1 mandatory if he just got knocked out or if he just lost convincingly to AJ. So obviously Dillian White is going to elevate to the #1 spot. Boom, there's your April fight, and they're going to blame it on Wilder. You know, this stuff is like child's play to me. It's very easy to see. Very easy to see. Where are all the old media channels? Explain that. Explain how that makes sense. Explain how Joshua, as of August, the WBO, they have Povektin ranked #1, but that doesn't satisfy a mandatory. But then you're gonna wait till he loses and then call the WBO, which by that time, if Povektin loses, he's not gonna stay. How you stay #1 if you get knocked out or if you lose? You know what I'm saying? So then now Dillian White moves up, and then they're going to be like, oh, you got to fight your mandatory, which is Dillian White at Wembley. Champions don't get ranked like that. You know, so it's different for champions. I don't know why, but that's why he's not in the rank. That's why Wilder's not in the WBO rankings. Maybe because they already have a belt, you know, and these other guys are like looking challengers, contenders and shit, looking to seek a belt. I don't know. You know, this is repulsive, people. So another way to avoid and prolong the Wilder fight. And then on that same Fight Hype interview, he said after that he's going to have to fight the IBF mandatory, which is going to be Kubrat Pulev, Huey Fury winner. So, I mean, the winner of Wilder Fury, how are they going to fight Joshua in 2019 if they're hiding behind mandatories the whole time? Listen, I'm just done. You know, there's no justification for this type of stuff. Good luck to DAZN. You know, I'm not buying DAZN. You know, not for these fights until I start getting the content that I need. You know, as a consumer. You know, that's ridiculous. Joshua already beat Dillian White by knockout. You know, that's cool that Dillian White moved back up the ladder, and you know, I respect what Dillian White has done, but you're trying to sell this fight at Wembley at 100,000. I just don't see it. You know, and then they're talking about Derek Chisora versus Dillian White, a rematch. You know, you get what I'm saying? You're talking about Dillian White and Chisora. Why not fight Luis Ortiz? Why not fight Luis Ortiz? At least, like, if you really want Dillian White to get respect among the boxing fans, fight Luis Ortiz, and then the winner of that gets Joshua. You know? All right, Junior Lawrence, I'm about to body you. Something crucial. He says, I don't think AJ is hiding behind mandatories. Okay, explain. I just explained my side, so you explain your side. How is that not hiding behind mandatories when his next 3 fights, according to Eddie Hearn, are going to be mandatories? You're in the hot seat. Go. You said he's not hiding behind mandatories, but as Eddie Hearn just outlined to Fight Hype, his next 3 mandatories, if Wilder doesn't answer his email, are going to be mandatories that get called. So you're in the hot seat. Please respond. Junior Lawrence, how is he not hiding behind mandatories? What other champ? He's not the only person. He's not the only person. How did Kovalev? Listen, Kovalev has about the same amount of belts when he fought Ward. He has about the same amount of belts as Joshua. You know, I think he had every belt except for the WBC. How did he fight Andre Ward? How did he fight Andre? How are any of these guys with multiple belts making fights? You know, if like, and they're not all just mandatory fights. You have 10 seconds, bro. Explain your side. See, I tell you, this is why old media cannot beat me. Because it's not rational thinking. It's not logical. They'll say it because it's therapeutic and they like saying it. Hey, would you delete your channel if AJ and Wilder happened in April 2019? How about I just delete you right now? Listen, hold on. Let me just block him for being stupid. Blocked. That was stupid. Would I delete my channel? This is my full-time employment, bozo. Why would I delete my why this is what I'm talking about. Why would I delete my full-time income that I've worked very hard for 5-7 years or whatever? Delete it because a fight that should happen happens. You see? Do you see what I'm saying? You see how stupid these guys are? Would you delete your channel if Wilder? I want Wilder Joshua to happen, you fucking moron. Why would I delete my channel because a fight I want to happen happens? This is how emotional these guys are. Would you delete your channel if it happens? Motherfucker, I want the fight to happen. So why would I delete my channel that I work for? You know? That's like saying, who does it? Like, you know, just little kid. That's like you worked at a job for 6 years and I'm like, okay, if Wilder Joshua happens, are you going to quit your job? Who does that? Why would you quit your job because of a fight? You know, it's not that serious. I'm not because of fight. If it does or doesn't happen, if I get a fight prediction or right or wrong, I'm not going to delete my channel. You know? Especially if you see these paychecks. Why the fuck would I delete my channel? These dudes are stupid, man. At work, ego working. Driving home, ego working. Chilling after dinner, ego working. You the best, man. Thank you. Yo, Lawrence, hold on. Where's this dude with the answer to the hot seat? Junior Lawrence, final answer. I'm sure AJ wants to unify, but also him and Wilder for some reason can't agree on terms. Is that a L? Did he explain how Joshua is not... He said Joshua's not hiding behind mandatories. And he said for some reason Wilder and Joshua can't agree on terms. Yeah, because they're offering him a flat rate. That's probably a major reason why they can't agree on terms. Because they're offering him some bullshit. But you still haven't answered the question you're in the hot seat for of how he's not hiding behind mandatories between him and his outfit, his promoter. Is that an L so we can keep moving on? He didn't even answer the question.
Finish him.
Is that an L? Put y'all L's up if this man got an L. He's not answering the question. Junior Lawrence said he's not hiding behind mandatories, and then he's talking about they can't agree on fights. How does that answer the question? At all. Please tell me how that answered the question. All right, the fan, enough, you know. Okay, so Ego, tell me, what do you think the fight for Wilder is worth, and what should Anthony Joshua get? You're done, bro. You see how he's trying to switch the subject instead of answering the question? L blocked. Listen, all I know is this. Name a major super fight that was pay-per-view that was expected to do the type of numbers that Wilder versus Joshua would do, where one side got a flat rate and that was it, and they were limited to that. They had no like rights in Mexico or rights in Australia. You know what I mean? The TV rights in Australia. They got no back end money. Name one in the UFC or in boxing, like Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz. Did they just give? No matter how well the event did, they just gave Nate Diaz $5 million and that was it, and just said, fuck it, that's all you'll ever get. Name one fight. You know what I'm saying? Name a fight that happened, preferably in boxing, you know, because I know more about boxing. Name one fight where that happened. Lawrence Curtis, only acceptable fight aside from Wilder's AJ versus Ortiz. You know that ain't happening. And see, that's the other thing. How is Ortiz not ranked? Okay, so Ortiz is still ranked with the WBC. This is games and politics. I'm telling you. Listen, WBC clean boxing program found failed drug test or whatever with Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz pled his case to them, and they let him still fight Wilder for the belt. They said, okay, you have doctor's notes and shit. WBA and WO took him off the rankings completely and never added him back. So how is it that even after losing to Wilder, Luis King Kong Ortiz is still in the WBC rankings for their WBC champion Wilder? He's still in the top 10, top 5 probably. Yet Luis Ortiz has never been put back in the WBO and WBA rankings. Never. Povektin failed 2 drug tests in the same year. Luis Ortiz failed 1 drug test with a different sanctioning body, 1 in a year, and he had an excuse that was approved or excusable based on the company, the sanctioning body that found the drug test. So explain why he's been removed completely from but Joshua has all these belts, IBF, WBA, WBO, all these belts, and he's not in any of these sanctioning. He's not the mandatory for shit. He's not in the sanction, and we know he's a top quality fighter. Yet the WBC has him back in the rankings. You know, come on, man. It's because they don't want him to be in the rank. It's just politics, bro. It's very clear to see. Anybody with a brain can sort this out. Anybody. You know, so Dillian White's just done so much. You know, Alexander Povektin failed 2 drug tests. You know, the Russians have a lot of money. You know, that's how they dabbled in the election in the U.S. and shit. They got bread. They got money. You know, money talks. So Povektin somehow can get put back. He could fail 2 drug tests for 2 different drugs in 1 year, meldonium and ostarine, in 1 year. And somehow he's already back in the rankings to the point where he's the #1 guy with the WBO and the WBA, and his mandatory slot got called with the WBA. But Luis Ortiz fails 1 drug test that gets excused by the person and the sanctioning body that found it, and he's still not in the WBA rankings. Come on, man. Y'all think y'all can fuck with new media, man? Never. Make that make sense. Why, okay, let's say you say, oh, Luis Ortiz failed 1 drug test, that's why he got removed. Okay, Povektin failed 2 drug tests in 1 year. Luis Ortiz had 2 in 2 totally different years. You know, when he fought, what's his name? Latif Coyote. You know, that was years ago. Make that make sense. So 1 guy with 1 convicted drug addict or whatever, 1 convicted drug addict can get back in the rankings, but the other one can't. Especially when the other one, he was able to still fight for the title by the sanctioning body that found the drugs or whatever in his system. But the WBA just kicked him out completely, never put him back. Come on, man. And then now, I told y'all the latest. In case you guys are just joining, this is the latest. Eddie Hearn just did an interview, and he said the WBO is gonna get called. He said the WBO mandatory is gonna get called after Povektin, and I'm like, okay, let me see who's the WBO #1 person. I'm gonna show y'all. Again, he said the WBO is gonna get called. Look who's the #1 rated. Alexander Povektin. So this is look, August 2018. So before Joshua's next fight. So if Alexander Povektin is currently the highest ranking person underneath Joshua, how come his upcoming fight next week does not satisfy the mandatory obligation? So truthfully, Joshua in facing Povektin, which he is facing next week, that should satisfy, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It should take care of his WBA mandatory, and it should take care of his WBO mandatory. But instead, they're trying to stretch it, and they're going to have Povektin listed at #1 as of August 2018, so last month, right? And then if Joshua beats him, he gets taken down a notch or a couple notches, and then Dillian White, who's ranked #2, is going to move up to the #1 spot. That's how it would work. You know, if this guy is the highest ranking person and then he loses, takes a fatal L, you don't just stay #1. So you would get knocked down a couple notches, and boom, Dillian White moves up, and then they're going to call the Dillian White fight. Somebody make that make sense. Ask Eddie Hearn, whoever. Make that make sense. If Joshua is the champion, he currently has all of these belts except for the WBC, including the WBO, World Boxing Organization. He already has the belt. And as of August 2018, The guy that they have in spot underneath in the highest rated slot is Povektin, who Joshua is fighting next week. So why doesn't that fight take care of the WBO mandatory? Why would the WBO wait for Povektin to lose and then say, you know what, Joshua, 3 weeks after he beats Povektin, say you got to fight your mandatory, which is now going to be Dillian White if Povektin loses? Listen, that makes no sense. I don't care about Floyd right now. It has nothing to do with Floyd. Somebody make that make sense. If you, in August 2018, your highest ranking is Alexander Povektin, who Joshua is facing next week, how come you're only going to classify it as Joshua defended his title against, or he didn't defend his WBO title against somebody? How does that make sense? When he's ranked right now #1. So why does that not count as a title defense if Joshua beats Povektin? Explain this to me. Somebody make that make sense. Everyone said, oh, you're biased. Okay, fine. Make that make sense. You're fighting the guy who has the highest ranking. So it's not like they need to go through one last eliminator or some shit that Povektin. He is the highest rated person. So you're going to wait for him to potentially lose if Joshua beats him. You're going to wait for him to lose. And then 3-4 weeks later, you're going to say, oh, you got to fight your mandatory, which is going to be Dillian White by that time if Povektin loses. Make that make sense. When clearly Povektin should be the #1 mandatory because he's the highest rated person, you know? But you're gonna count it as if it's 2 separate fights. That's some bullshit, man, and y'all know it. I mean, come on. Like, okay, put it like this. Here's to put this in perspective. This would be the equivalent. Let's say we're watching the NFL playoffs, right? Let's say the 49ers in their conference, they got to beat Green Bay. And they beat them on Sunday. Blow them out the water. You know, beat them by 3 touchdowns. And we're trying to get to the Super Bowl. Green Bay's eliminated. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not gonna have Green Bay and then you have to play Green Bay again on that Thursday. Green Bay is already out of the equation. So, you know, in beating Green Bay, that removes you from having to see Green Bay. Joshua, he's fighting the highest rated person with the WBA and the WBO sanctioning bodies. But you're going to only count it towards the WBA, and then you're going to wait for Povektin to lose, and then say he has to fight his mandatory. Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, the mandatory, I understand you have a certain amount of time. Oh, you haven't defended your mandatory belt. Joshua has the belt right now. Povektin is rated #1, the highest person with the WBO right now. So, since all of that shit is right now, why doesn't this count towards a title defense? Why? Make that make sense. You're not going to count that as a title defense, and it's the same person, but you're gonna wait till he beats Povektin if he can do it. Obviously, I'm just being hypothetical. So if Joshua, hypothetically, in the perfect world, champion retains his title, he knocks out Povektin. So you're gonna wait for Povektin to get knocked out, and then say, oh, now you got to fight your mandatory with the WBO. It's been a while since you had a WBO title defense, and then by that time it'll be Dillian White. Come on, man. And then they're going to say, oh, Wilder didn't respond to his email. But you're saying this has to happen within 3 to 4 weeks after the Povektin fight. By that time, the Wilder fight will not have happened yet. So how is Wilder going to... Okay. It's so clear to see the Matchroom plan. And it's sad, to be honest, what they're doing to Joshua's profile right now. But Okay, let's just analyze this. Eddie Hearn just said in this interview, after the Povektin fight next weekend, they got 3 to 4 weeks. Otherwise, the WBO is going to get called. Now, the only thing they could do to trump that would be a unification, really. Hey, do we have any shooters that can block? Hold on, I'll do it. Look, the man fans is mad as fuck because they know look. The dude says you are a hot bag of cum and shit. Blocked. You notice this is how you know we're destroying them, because you notice where's the rebuttal to what I'm asking. You could say the name calling, that's cool, that's cute, but you notice what he doesn't do. This is what I'm challenging you. I challenge you. Can call me names all day. I'm challenged because you ain't gonna do that to me, you know, in the physical. But I'm challenging you to prove what I'm saying wrong. They name call, and you tell me that's not winning. I'm like, so how does this make sense? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, you're a bag of shit. Okay, I'm a colostomy bag. Great, but answer the question. You see, they don't do it. They don't. That's how you know we winning. You know, when you got them so stumped and flabbergasted, only thing they could do is just call you stupid or a name. That's how you know you're destroying the competition. They have no answer. They have no rebuttal. And the great thing about it is the world sees it. I'm not out here like, I'm just asking for answers, you know. I'm simply asking for answers. So you can call me names, all like I said. I know you ain't gonna disrespect me like that in person, you know, so. And that ain't no tough guy talk, but it's just what it is. So, you know, I'll be all types of bitches and cum dumpster, whatever the fuck you talking about online. I'll be all that. But answer the question. That's what we trying to get to. Once again, it should kill 2 birds with 1 stone, since the #1 guy with the WBA and the WBO is Povektin. And he's currently the #1 guy. But you're going to wait till for him to arguably get beat and then say, hey, you got to fight your mandatory. That's Dillian White. So scripted. So easy to see. Very easy to see what they're doing. But here's the other thing. What Eddie Hearn says is the WBO, like, how does he know the WBO is going to call the mandatory in 3 to 4 weeks after Povektin? That's what I'm saying. That's why it sounds like they're all in cahoots. So the WBO, after next week, they're going to wait 3 or 4 weeks and call and say, hey, you have to fight your mandatory, only to be trumped by a unification. Deontay Wilder is going to be in training camp for Tyson Fury. So how is he going to be responding to emails and trying to negotiate a whole separate ass fight, dealing with lowball offers and bullshit like that whilst in training camp, you know? And then you really think you're going to be able to negotiate that? He already has a mega fight. He already has a super fight. He's going to be promoting that. And you want him within 3 to 4 weeks to be able to really negotiate another fight for April? You know, it's just not likely. So what they're going to say is, oh, guess what? WBO, they called the mandatory, which is Dillian White, at Wembley in April. I mean, we tried to negotiate with Wilder, but he took too long, and he wasn't negotiating because he's in training camp for another super fight with Tyson Fury, 2 guys that Joshua said he would fight that he hasn't fought, you know. And so we had to make a move and fight Dillian White in a rematch. You know, maybe they do Dillian White versus Derek Chisora to try to hype it up. But, you know, I thought Derek Chisora beat Dillian White the first fight, truth be told, you know. So if Derek Chisora can't knock out Dillian White or something like that, then who's the, like, I thought Derek Chisora won the first fight, so I don't see him winning on the scorecards, you know, because that's who they want to fight Joshua next. It's very easy to see what's happening, people. So they clearly don't want the Wilder fight. Look, Dog Fong says, I will fuck you up with my fucking fuck you shitty bitty mofo. That's cute. Blocked. Listen, I'm not playing no games. Y'all can play all the games and troll. I don't. That's how you know we smoking them. When they start just coming back radical, multiple accounts and stuff. That's how you know is I put the bay on my back. Yeah, this is sad. It's sad what's happening. And, you know, I'm really checking for how Joshua responds to this negativity from fans. You know, I'm really anxious to see how he's mentally built, because he's gonna get a lot of backlash from stuff like this. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense how the WBO and WBA has Povektin rated #1, but is only going to count towards a title defense for the WBA only. Unbelievable. I've never seen that. With okay, this would be the equivalent. Let's say Errol Spence hypothetically had the WBA belt along with the IBF belt. Let's just say he had 2 belts. And Ocampo was the #1 mandatory for the WBA, and he was the #1 mandatory for the IBF. And Errol Spence fought him in Jerry Jones, training center. I went to that fight. Let's say Errol Spence said, okay, I'm fighting Carlos Ocampo. If Carlos Ocampo was the WBA and IBF #1 rated person, right? Do you think they would say, nope, that doesn't count, now you got to fight? It would likely count for both. You'd be like, okay, Errol Spence knocked out Ocampo in 1 round. That's going to count for both. It's going to count for the IBF title defense. You did your job as a champion. Do you get what I'm saying? Yo, you got to smash the like button. We need triple digits ASAP. ASAP, people. Because the whole thing with the mandatories, I get it. You want to give contenders an opportunity at the belt and stuff like that. Povektin is the highest rated person with the WBA and WBO, so he's getting his opportunity at the title. You get what I'm saying? So it should really satisfy both, because how can you not say Joshua's not doing his diligence as a champion by taking on his mandatories when you have Povektin, who is the #1 with 2 sanctioning bodies? He's doing his job as a champion. In doing that, that should kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and boom, boom. You took care of your duties as a champion. You defended against the highest ranking WBA person, which is subsequently the highest ranking WBO person. But the way they have it set up is they're gonna let Povektin lose if that's what fate has. They're gonna let him lose, and then wait 3 or 4 weeks, and then call the WBO mandatory, which would then be Dillian White. Doesn't make sense. Eddie Hearnson that did that interview, because that made me do the research. I didn't even know who well, actually, I knew Povektin was dual #1s in 2 different sanctioning bodies. This is sad, people. This is really sad. This is that ether.
Well, just fight your mandatories. After the WBO one, it will be called next.
Listen.
He will have a WBO mandatory. The WBO mandatory will be called next. Now, you always have the opportunity to either try and make a unification fight, there's only one to make, or to ask for a voluntary defence. But after the WBO one, the IBF mandatory will be called as well, which will be his next fight after the next one. So I don't know, November, December next year will be Huey Fury or Pulev. So, you ain't really got a lot of time for voluntaries, so you might as well just fight your mandatories, or vacate belts, or fight unification. So, again, our preference, 100%, is to fight Deontay Wilder in April. But when they won't reply to your emails, they won't get back to you, how the fuck are you supposed to make that fight? So we have to do what we've got to do. I know they're concentrating on their fight.
We got to do what we got to do. I know they're concentrating on their fight. Of course. So why would he be responding to emails for an April fight? You've been giving him the runaround and lowballing him, offering him a flat rate, and you think he's going to be jumping for joy to respond when he already has a super fight lined up? Makes no sense.
Fight coming up, but we will probably have to make our move on our fight.
See, and he says we'll have to make our move on that fight. So how can Wilder agree to fight in April when he already has business that he has to focus on with Tyson Fury. And he's saying we have to make our move within 3 to 4 weeks, because that's when the WBO is going to call for Joshua to fight his next mandatory, which will then be Dillian White, since they're not counting Povektin.
3-4 weeks after Wembley.
He just caught, listen, people, Eddie Hearn just caught himself up. You guys don't understand. He just caught himself up. He said, how the fuck can we make the fight with Wilder if he's not replying to emails? But I'm sure they're focused on their fight, but we got to make our move, because after the Povektin fight, we only have 3 to 4 weeks before the WBO calls. So how, if you know Wilder is focused on a Fury fight, which I think they're trying to slate for November, December, how is he going to be ready to respond to your emails and negotiate an April fight if you're only giving him 3 to 4 weeks after September 22nd? So once again, conveniently, they're going to blame Deontay Wilder, and they're going to say, oh, we were under the gun, just like they did with the WBA 24-hour deadline. And they're going to say we're under the gun. Wilder didn't get back to us in enough time. Boom, the WBA called the mandatory. We got to fight our mandatory, which will then be Dillian White, since for whatever reason, even though Povektin is rated #1 in 2 sanctioning bodies, including the WBO, it's not going to count. I mean, it's easy to see this. So you want Joshua to get past Povektin, which he's the favorite to do, and then after that, Dillian White at Wembley in April. How he just told you to get. He just told you. That's why they should stop doing interviews, people, especially with new media around. I see why they didn't let me answer a question, because none of this stuff makes sense when I did the conference call. You know, you're saying Wilder hasn't responded, but you know he's focused on his next fight with Fury. So how the fuck is he gonna respond within 3 to 4 weeks and negotiate a major fight with Joshua, especially when y'all haven't seen eye to eye and you offered him flat rates and you're giving him 3 to 4 weeks, and you said if it's not done in 3 to 4 weeks, the WBO gets called.
So if it's not Wilder, then it has to be probably the WBO mandatory.
See? If it's not Wilder, it has to be the WBO. So that's not going to work with the time scale. You know Wilder's fighting Tyson Fury in November, December. So how the fuck is he going to negotiate a big-ass fight, especially when he was getting the runaround in the first negotiations?
What are the chances that next week we'll see a Wilder Fury announcement or press conference?
Well, I mean, it baffles me, like, that you want to be that obsessed with Anthony Joshua that the whole thing might be planned around Joshua's fight week. So if you're trying to sell a fight to say that no, fuck AJ, this is the biggest fight in boxing, yet you're following AJ around like a couple of little boys, like harassing him on social media, trying to make announcements when he's making announcements, or trying to be relevant around him, that shows you what that fight is. That fight is a really good fight to find out who the second best heavyweight is in the world, because it's very clear who #1 is. So, I mean, someone asked me again, media, when would you announce that fight? I said, I'd announce it in Vegas at Canelo Golovkin week.
Hey, he's mad. Listen, I called that on Twitter. In my opinion, I think, see, a lot of people were like, oh, what the fuck's taking so long for the Fury Wilder announcement? I think they're going to announce it close the day of Alexander Povektin fight with Joshua, or the fight week of it, to upstage it. You know, I felt that for a while. They're good. I think initially they had some kinks and things they had to work out, venues, how they can make the most money. I don't think the fight was ever in question. I think both fighters have been agreed to fight. But now, since it took long enough, and now they're so close to Joshua Povektin, I think they're going to announce it during the fight week of Joshua Povektin, just to show them that they're playing chess and shit on Joshua Povektin. That's what I really think. You know, book it. Book that, you know. I think that. And so a lot of y'all, once again, a lot of y'all be like, oh, Frank Warren said he was going to negotiate it next week. What's taking so long? Once again, it's because they're playing chess, not checkers. They're going to probably announce it right before Wilder. I mean, Wilder Fury is probably going to get announced right in line with Joshua Povektin, just to shit on it and show who has the real power. Listen, Al Heyman is a fucking G, like a godfather. It's the same thing Floyd Mayweather did to Canelo Triple G. The same thing. Floyd don't like Oscar De La Hoya. He beat Canelo, you know, and he announced Mayweather McGregor got announced after we knew Canelo Triple G were fighting for the first time, and they got a good buzz. Mayweather waited till after, and then he announced that he's fighting 2 to 3 weeks before Canelo Triple G, and it deflated all of the sales out of the momentum that Canelo Triple G got, because you had two talkers, two showmen in Mayweather and McGregor, and it just totally upstaged a good boxing fight. And that's why De La Hoya got mad, and Bernard Hopkins and all them, and they were saying, oh, this is a circus and this is ridiculous. But you guys see what fight generated more money, and that was Mayweather McGregor. So again, these dudes that are affiliated with Heyman, they're playing chess, not checkers. They're doing strategic Sun Tzu level art of war, 7-day Don Illuminati, Machiavelli, strategic plan, plot, strategize, and bomb first. They are hitting them over the head with these chess moves. Straight up. These are chess moves. This is strategy. This is war. You know, and I like that because that's where I come from. I come from that. I like that type of shit. I like that gutter shit. You know, I would do the same thing. You know, just what Mayweather did to Canelo Triple G. And he wanted to show, you know, you want to show somebody you the Don, you stun on them. You like, oh, okay. Everybody happy at Canelo versus Golovkin. That's cool. Watch what we do. Mayweather McGregor, 2 to 3 weeks before Canelo Triple G at the same venue in the same city. You know, that's how you stun on someone proper. And I think that's what's happening with Wilder Fury, because Wilder and Fury never got on the horn and said, we're not fighting. They've always maintained that they're fighting, you know? It's only people like Eddie Hearn and old media and these dumbass YouTube channels that said, whoa, what's taking Wilder and Fury so long? Just wait. They probably, I really want to say that they're going to announce it probably to upstage, you know, the Wilder Fury, to have that upstage Joshua shit with Povektin, to show people and to, you know, hate on the sales and hate on the interest and like, oh shit, have a lit ass press conference or whatever they decide to do, you know, just to show who's the King Kong, you know, who got the biggest nuts, so to speak. Pause. And that's strategy. And that's why Eddie Hearn's like, oh yeah, I mean, if you're gonna follow him around and make announcements that coincide with him, man, fuck all that. I would do the same thing. I would wait, like, literally, it's all's fair in love and war. Why? Okay, this is karma. This is karma for Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua. They try to play this A-side shit too much, you know? So Deontay Wilder, he even offered $50 million to Joshua, turned it down. So they said, okay, whatever, we're not fighting you next. Came back, and they came back correct with the chess move. And they said, you know, guess what? We got our own super fight. We don't need you, AJ. See, AJ thought he controlled the whole board. Like this was Monopoly. He thought he had all the boardwalk and he thought he had all the property. And then out of nowhere, you didn't realize that AJ and Tyson Fury had a chess piece. You know what I mean? They had a piece on the board that you overlooked or some shit. Strategy. That's why Eddie Hearn's sweating bullets. I'm talking about, ooh, it shows you who's number one. No, it don't show me shit. I think the winner of Wilder Fury is number one, because they're going for the gusto and going for greatness, and that's a tough fight for both of them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just listen to Eddie Hearn's logic, people. Tyson Fury beats Klitschko when no one else can do it for 10 years. Povektin's a mandatory, but he lost to Klitschko, and he looked bad in that fight. He got knocked down like at least 2 times. Wilder's undefeated, and he was chasing Joshua down. Joshua looked like him and his team looked like they didn't want to fight him. Barry Hearn comes on the horn and says, I don't care if you ever fight him. Wait 2 years. So, yeah, the public opinion, popular consensus would be that Wilder Fury winner is number one based on those. Fury has beaten guys like Klitschko. Povektin lost to Klitschko. You know? So, to me, Wilder Fury establishes the number one heavyweight. And Eddie Hearn's mad because he knows he's getting stunned on. He knows it. You know, oh, why are you gonna follow him around like some bullies? you see, he got hip to the plan. He probably, you know, industry, he probably got a wind of like they might announce next week, you know? And now he's mad. Listen, new media is fucking y'all boys up. Straight up. First they say the fight's not gonna happen. Now Eddie Hearn is griping about the fight being announced during Joshua Povektin week. Which one is it? I thought you said it wasn't gonna happen at all. Which one is it, people? This is how you know old media can't fuck with new media. Listen to what they say. Eddie Hearn is on record, on wax. He said the fight wasn't going to happen at all. Now you're complaining of when it gets announced. And then they asked him, they said, when would you announce it? He says they should announce it during Canelo versus Golovkin week when everyone's in Las Vegas. So let me get this straight, Eddie. You want them to announce it during Canelo Triple G week and potentially upstage that event, or, you know, drop heavy boxing news to coincide with a middleweight fight. You don't care because it's not your event. You get what I'm saying? That's not your event, so you don't care if it upstages it or if it affects the numbers or if it you don't care about that because it's not your event. But then you're complaining and crying because they might announce it to coincide with your heavyweight fight when Joshua already looks bad. Town business. He said Hearn don't know whether he's coming or going. This Hearn done painted himself into a picture. First he said the fight wasn't going to happen. Now he's mad that the fight might get announced the week of his fight. And he's saying they should announce it the week of a middleweight fight. Of course you want them to announce it during that because that's not your event. You don't want them to upstage your event. And then, like I said, some people they pander to casuals and they're just willing to go down with the ship. After complaining about Wilder Fury being announced the week of Joshua Povektin potentially, he then tries to double down and says he still, even if the fight gets announced, he still doesn't believe that the fight's going to happen. Just listen, people.
When everybody's there. But they will probably announce next week. But it doesn't mean the fight's going to happen.
Look.
Are you still...
Of course. I think Fury's got a 50% success rate in terms of turning up for fights in the last 4 or 5 fights. 4 fights.
Eddie Hearn, like, he's not being truthful. He said Tyson Fury has a 50%. He has a 50% rate of turning up for fights. Tyson Fury, he showed up for Safari. He showed up for the Francisco Pianeta. He showed up for the Klitschko fight. What is Eddie Hearn talking about? He said he hasn't turned up. He has a 50% chance of turning up. What fight did Fury pull out of? Listen, y'all getting beat to oblivion. He says he has a listen.
Are you still...
Of course. I think Fury's got a 50% success rate in terms of turning up for fights in the last 4 or 5 fights. 4 fights.
Okay. He has a 50. He said Tyson Fury has a 50% chance of turning up in his last 4 or 5 fights. I'm on BoxRec right now. New media. We gonna get to the bottom of stuff. Tyson Fury versus Francisco. Hold on. You know what? Fuck it. So y'all playing with the wrong one. I'm telling you, new media is not what you. This is not what you want. I promise you that. Hold on 1 second, yo. All right. We on BoxRec. All right, Tyson Fury, Francisco Pianeta. He showed up for that fight, won. Safari showed up for that fight, too. There was no delays, no cancellations. Vladimir Klitschko, he showed up, obviously, because that's how he became lineal champion, right? Christian Hamer, that's the 4th fight. He showed up for that fight, and he won. And then he knocked out Derek Chisora. So what is Eddie Hearn talking about? What is he talking about that Fury has a 50% chance of, like, arrival or showing up rate? Like, when? In his last 4 fights. I just went through his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just went through his last 5 fights. When did he pull out of any of those fights and say, I can't make it or anything? It's looking bad, man. But like I said, y'all picked y'all side. Y'all believe whatever you want. When he just told you that. He said he has a look.
They will probably announce next week, but it doesn't mean the fight's going to happen.
Doesn't mean the fight's going to happen.
Still, of course. I think Fury's got a 50% success rate in terms of turning up for fights in the last 4 or 5 fights. 4 fights. So, will that fight happen? I think it is 50-50. Maybe I'd slightly lean towards it happening. But anything can happen in that fight, mate. I mean, people could get injured. People might not fancy it. Money might not be delivered in escrow accounts. Anything could happen in the build-up to the fight.
See, why? Whatever. Okay, true. It's boxing. People can get injured. He's talking about money won't be in escrow. So, why be so pessimistic? New media is destroying the cup. Shout out to Ricky Samuel. Ego on that job early. Respect. Stay on that neck. $2 super chat. I appreciate you. It's looking bad, man. So once again, this is the maturation of Eddie Hearn. He says the fight's not gonna happen at all. Then Wilder and Fury get in the ring, do a face-off, photo ops, and all that after the Pianeta fight, right? So everyone's like, "Oh, cool, it's going down." Frank Warren did say it'll take a week and then they'll announce it. Didn't happen. Eddie Hearn continued to do interviews and said, "See, told you, fight won't happen." Now he's doing current interviews with Fight Hype, and he's saying they're going to announce the fight on the week of Joshua Povektin, which is next week. Right? Then in the same interview, he just said, "I don't think the fight's going to happen. Even if it gets announced on my fight week, Joshua Povektin, I still don't think it's going to happen. Money might not be delivered in escrow. Anything can happen. Tyson Fury's unreliable." He said Tyson Fury has a 50% in his last 4 or 5 fights. He has a 50% show up ratio, which, like, literally, how's it 50%? That's his BoxRec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights. That's his last 5 fights. He showed up for all of them. He didn't pull out of any of these fights. So what is Eddie Hearn referring to? You know, and he's like, "Oh, he could get injured. He might not show up. I think it's a 50% chance to happen." Bottom line is, like, this stuff is embarrassing. This stuff makes Team Joshua look bad. And you don't want to believe it because you don't want it to happen, because this is damage control. And you know the implications of Wilder Fury happening. And you don't want your cash cow looked at in this light. But, hey, these are decisions that they've made. You know, again, like, just take it. Just look at how it's bounced around. First, it's not going to happen. Then you say it might happen. Then you say it's not going to. He said they're going to announce it during his fight week, Joshua Povektin, and that's childish and petty. Then in the same interview, you say it is going to happen but I don't know if I don't think it's gonna happen. Anything can happen. And then right after that, you say I might lean slightly towards it happening. This is what I told you guys. This is how people hedge their bets. You've said everything. You've said every literal possibility. So you're always going to be right. It doesn't work like that. Like if I'm playing Street Fighter and one guy is Ken and one guy, we'll say Ryu. We'll say one guy's Ryu and one guy's Guile. And I'm like, oh, Ryu might hit him with the Hadouken. And they're like, but you know, who knows? Like I see I picked Ryu to win. And then I see Ryu's health bar keep going down by the other player. And I'm like, but you know, Guile, he could hit you with the sonic boom and Ryu might get knocked out from the sonic. I just said everything. So like, no matter what, I'm right, because I just said Ryu's gonna kick Guile's ass with the Hadouken and this and that. And then I switched it and said Guile, I mean, his sonic booms, and he is a good fighter. He can just trip him in sonic boom. I just gave you every possible outcome. So that's how people hedge their bets to the point where sonic boom. That's how they hedge their bet to the point where they're always going to be right, because you said everything. See, me, I stand on the front lines with one talking point. I have one talking point and that's it. I'm not saying both sides, you know? I'm not saying like, oh, this and that, or this could happen or that could. I'm not. You'll never lose if you do that. He's literally said the fight will and won't happen. So of course you're going to be right, because either it's not going to happen or it's going to happen, and you've said both. That's not even a good way to lie. Fight's not going to happen. Oh, I got to see it to believe it. Then they get in the ring. Oh, I still don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen. Now you're complaining that they're going to announce it and upstage Joshua Povektin. And then you say right after that, you still don't think it's going to happen, because anything can happen. Fury can get pulled. He could get an injury and pull out. The money might not be right. The networks might not like it. You know, which one is it? Not a good look, people. You guys can say whatever you want. I can't wait. See, and listen, the thing with me, I'm too efficient. I'm too efficient with what I do. So with old media, they can try and do the damage control that they've been doing and come from behind me and set the record straight. I promise you, it's too damaging. You're going to look stupid, because I've thought about every possible situation. So please, I encourage all old media channels, everybody else saying that bullshit, come from behind. If you hear this video, you see this video, come from behind with everything I've said in this video and try to, let's see you clean all of this up and make all of this make sense. Make it make sense how Eddie Hearn said the fight won't happen, and then he said it will happen, and he changed it and said it won't happen again. Come clean all of this up. I can't wait, because they're gonna be, what Eddie, what he meant, Barry Hearn didn't mean it. They're gonna be all over the place. And this is like I said, Al Heyman moves. We strategists, we war strategists. This is the art of war. Sun Tzu, and I told you it was going to be a war. They said don't start a war unless I got my money right. I got my money right. Now I want war. I can't wait to hear the justifications. I can't wait. This is what I live for. I live for this moment, you know? So my reputation versus yours. I've put everything that I feel on the plate. I put my talking points. Let's hear yours. 21 gun salute. We'll see who has the better, just like I do in the hot seat. We'll see who has the better talking points. Explain your way out of all of this. You know? Explain how Alexander Povektin is the highest ranked person in the WBA and WBO, yet it's only going to count for the WBA. It's only going to satisfy the WBA title defense. Explain that. I just showed paperwork. Explain that. Y'all got your work cut out for y'all. It just, like I said, y'all got your work cut out. Make all of this make sense. You know what I mean? You said the Wilder Fury fight wasn't going to happen. Now you say it's going to happen. You said, oh, I think they're going to announce it next week to try to fuck with our fight. Then right after that, you said, I don't believe it still. 50-50. And then you lied and said Tyson Fury has a 50-50% of showing up to fights in his last 4 or 5 fights. I just pulled up the box rec. and he didn't pull out of any of those fights. So this is what I'm talking about with new media, and this is what I'm talking about. You can't do it. This is why you can't do an interview with new media and get away with little things like that, because it wouldn't even make sense. You know, there would be follow-up questions that you would have to answer to. Like if I was the one that interviewed Eddie Hearn, I would ask him, you said it's a 50% chance. Fury's been 50-50 in his last 4 or 5 fights. You said there's a 50%. What fight? The only fight you could even say is the Klitschko rematch. They were scheduled to rematch, and he couldn't fight him because he failed 2 drug tests. So it wasn't really a matter of him pulling out and not being reliable. He was just on coke, you know, and he failed 2 drug tests and UCAD and all that. They banned him, and he had to relinquish his belt. So he couldn't complete the fight. Shout out to Christian Boswell. He said, explain that, all the old media. I'll wait. We're all waiting. We're all waiting for the justification. Tell me one intelligent reason why Povektin is ranked #1, the highest ranked person with the WBO and WBA, yet Joshua is fighting him next week and is only going to count towards the WBA. That's it. That's all I want to know, because I've never seen that. You know, and then you're going to wait till Povektin potentially loses to Joshua, if he does lose, you know, and then after you're going to call Joshua and say, hey, you're up for a WBO mandatory, which is Dillian White now. What a coincidence. And then you're going to blame it on Wilder, who you know has a fight, but you're saying he only has 3 to 4 weeks to negotiate. Come on, man. Come on. Not a good look, people. And see, these sanctioning bodies, they need to start answering. Like, I want to hear the WBA, Gilberto Mendoza and all that. I want to hear him answer why he called in the middle of Wilder Joshua negotiations when they were this close, why he felt the need to call for the 24-hour deadline. I want to see how the WBO does an interview in front of all the press, all of media, and explain how they have Povektin ranked at #1 in the highest position. He's the highest ranking person. You can say, oh, he's not the mandatory challenger. Okay, whatever. But he's ranked #1. And while Joshua's fighting him next week, but that don't count towards his mandatory. I just want to hear it. I want to hear why. Why doesn't that not count? Why do you have him in that one position? Like, just imagine, let's say Wilder had the IBF belt and Dominic Breazeale was his WBC mandatory and his IBF mandatory, and he fights Dominic Breazeale next, and then the WBC comes out and says, oh, you just fought him for the IBF. You didn't fight him for us. So now you got to fight Dillian White. We're ordering that mandatory when you just fought Dominic Breazeale. You know, why does it only satisfy one belt when you know damn well who he just fought? This shit is funny. This shit is comical, people. I'm gonna show y'all again. WBO 2018 August, because it's just turned September. Heavyweight search. Look, Anthony Joshua is the UK champion. World Boxing 2018. Joshua is the champ, we know. The #1 slot is filled by Povektin, who Joshua is fighting next week. And then they have Dillian White underneath that. In this interview, Eddie Hearn gave the game plan away. He told you He told you the game plan. In this interview, he says 3 to 4 weeks after the Povektin bout, the WBO is going to call for Joshua to fight his mandatory. So we're gonna have to fight our mandatory. But I just showed you Povektin should be the #1 guy. Why doesn't he count for the mandatory? Looking shaky. So once again, this all falls in line. People say, oh, Barry Hearn. People say Barry Hearn don't have nothing to do with Matchroom. But why is this all coinciding with what he said? This all coincides with what Joshua said in that Johnny Nelson interview where he was on the apron of the ring and he says, oh, devil on my shoulder, angel right here. The businessman in the suit says, wait. The guy, the fighter in me tells me to fight him at Wembley. You know what I mean? Not a good look for Joshua at all. Not a good look. He gave you the game plan.
Mandatory will be called next.
See?
Now, he will have a WBO mandatory. The WBO mandatory will be called next. Now, you always have the opportunity to either try and make a unification fight, there's only one to make, or to ask for a voluntary defence. But after the WBO one, the IBF mandatory will be called as well, which will be his next fight after the next one. So I don't know, November, December next year will be Huey Fury or Pulev. So, like, you ain't really got a lot of time for voluntaries, so you might as well just fight your mandatories, or vacate belts, or fight unification. So, again, our preference, 100%, is to fight Deontay Wilder in April. But when they won't reply to your emails, they won't get back to you, how the fuck are you supposed to make that fight? So we have to do what we've got to do. I know they're concentrating on their fight coming up, but we will probably have to make our move on our fight, 3-4 weeks after Wembley.
There's a game plan. He told you. So basically, Joshua is going to be tied up with mandatories. He's going to be tied up with mandatories. He's talking about Kubrat Pulev, Huey Fury. I'll pass. I swear to you, I will not buy DAZN for no fight like that. I can't. You know what I'm saying? Kubrat Pulev, Huey Fury win. Like, so you're not going to fight Wilder Fury when you rather fight Fury's cousin. Okay. I'd rather see you fight Blind Fury, the battle rapper, or the movie Blind Fury with Rutger Hauer. So, yeah, I mean, Eddie Hearn, this part of the downfall is he likes the spotlight, so he likes to do a bunch of interviews, and he keeps saying this. You know, he keeps saying everything, but it's the game plan. So conveniently, Wilder's not answering the email. That's because he's already has his own fight. He's not worried about Joshua right now. He told you that. You know, and he's not looking to get dicked around with a lowball flat rate and all that. Like I said, name the major super fight where one of the B-side got a flat rate, and that's it. And they were limited to that. They got no extra perks, no spiffs, no back end money. You know, Canelo Triple G 1 or 2, Mayweather Pacquiao. You know, Cotto, Sergio Martinez. Name the fight. Name the fight where B-side Sergio Martinez got a flat rate and he was stuck at that, and Cotto got all the money on the back end. You know? Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez. I mean, when did this happen? Sergio Martinez was the B-side, I guess, in that. So he got 5 million flat, 2 million flat, and that's it. And then Chavez got all the pay-per-view money. Like, come on, man. So it looks like they're trying to gun for, if Joshua gets past Povektin, a Dillian White rematch. You know? So, hey, remember who said it. And then like Eddie Hearn, I feel like he's being stubborn. He won't admit it, you know. and it's making it makes the brand look tainted a bit. It makes the brand look worse because he's saying he sounds salty. He sounds like he's hating on Wilder Fury. He keeps saying it's a good fight, but then you're mad when they announce it. Why do you care? If your event is the bomb, like, okay, when I go cover a fight, I don't give a fuck who's there because that doesn't have nothing to do with me. They're going to upload whatever they upload. They're going to get whatever interviews they get. I don't care. I don't care what they do. I got my own channel to run, you know? So why would you, if you know you have the bigger event, if you think Joshua Povektin is bigger than Wilder Fury, why do you care when they announce it? You know? That shows insecurity to me. That's insecurity. Because why would you care about any, I wouldn't care. If you have the better event, you have the better movie. You have the better event. You know, like I said, I go to cover a fight. I don't care who's there. I don't care who got credit. I don't care. I do my thing and that's it. I'm not worried about what the next person does or who they got. You know, I don't care about people's paycheck on YouTube. I mean, they ain't not giving me the money. Whatever I get, if I'm content with that and it gets me by, good. You know, I'm not out here pocket watching this stuff. So why do you care when Wilder Fury is announced? You see, and listen, like, I can break this down on some real psychological. In college, I did take some psychology classes, and I really loved the subject. And you can break down what people say from a psychological aspect. You wouldn't be constantly mentioning Wilder if you didn't feel he was a threat. You wouldn't say that. You wouldn't be worried about when Wilder Fury is announced if you really thought it wasn't going to happen. You wouldn't say something like Wilder Fury, that fight, they're following Joshua and trying to announce around him, so that proves who's the number 2 person. You're saying Wilder Fury establishes the number 2 heavyweight. Joshua's clearly the number 1. If you really felt that and you felt it didn't affect Joshua's standing or status, then why would you even care when they negotiate it? So even if you break this down psychologically, it speaks volumes that he's worried or that he even cares when it's getting announced. Because if you know your fighter is the number 1 and his brand is just thriving and growing, and that's the number 2, they're just fighting for number 2 slot, then why do you care when it's announced? Why do you keep doing interviews talking about it? Why do you care? Just be like, man, we got the best heavyweight fight, Joshua Povektin. That's where it's at. You wouldn't be checking for it. You know, just like, for example, Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins for Canelo Triple G, the first fight, after Floyd announced Mayweather-McGregor, they spent more time talking about Mayweather-McGregor than they damn near did their own event, Canelo Triple G. Bernard Hopkins was on Breakfast Club talking about Floyd. De La Hoya wrote a long-ass letter. Then he let tweets, and he was like, oh, fuck Mayweather, fuck McGregor. You didn't hear Floyd and Conor talking about De La Hoya as much. Occasionally, a media person would ask, like Conor McGregor, hey, De La Hoya, he says your fight is a circus, and then Conor or somebody would respond, and he'd be like, who the fuck is De La Hoya? I don't, you know, but they weren't really, Mayweather and McGregor, they knew they had the bigger event. So unless they were really asked about Canelo Triple G, that's the only time they brought it up. Conor's a salesperson. You know, he's a showman, and so is Mayweather. They knew they had the bigger event, so they weren't really checking. That's what happens when you're not insecure, when you're an alpha male, and when you're in the position of power. You don't really care what the next person is doing. You know? The only time you like checking and hawking and stuff is because you're worried. That's facts. That's why you've seen Golden Boy and Canelo and Triple G and Tom Lawler. All of them were talking about how bad Mayweather-McGregor was more than Floyd was talking about Golden Boy and Canelo Triple G, you know? Eddie Hearn keep doing interviews talking about Wilder Fury when they're announcing, and it only establishes the number 2. You know, come on, man. We know what it is. We know what time it is. No one is talking about Povektin. If you've seen him versus Price, you see why. Exactly. See, that's what I'm saying. Fear makes people do crazy stuff. When you fear, in my honest opinion, Eddie Hearn knows the implications of Wilder Fury, and he knows it's damage control because he knows that Joshua is not perceived in the best light right now, and he knows his fight is getting upstaged by that. You know, it's not hard to tell. It's like, let's say I came out with an independent feature film, and it was like a low budget movie, and then Avengers 2 comes out. Then I would be worried about what Avengers 2 is doing because I know that's killing my movie. Because it's just, I'm competing with a much bigger movie, you know, that families like. Or if I'm competing with the Black Panther movie and we released on the same date. Black Panther ain't worried about the movie underneath it, you know? It's just like these dudes on my live streams. They be saying, oh, look at Ego panhandling and begging for donations. I'm not talking about money. I'm not sitting up here showing y'all pay stubs and stuff. They're talking about me. They're talking about me getting super chats. They're pocket watching. They're asking, oh, you're begging for a donation. They're the ones bringing it up. I'm not. You know, I'm not bringing up how much they make, you know, unless they start some shit. So that goes to show you who's concerned with it. I'm not concerned. I don't care how much anybody on my stream makes. Doesn't have no bearing on my life. But that's what they do to me, you know, because I'm the voice or whatever, the host of the channel. Oh, look at Ego. He's begging for a donation because they care how much I make. They're curious. They're the ones, you know what I mean? Oh, why don't you get a real job? I never said that to nobody. I never said stop working where you're working, go get a different job. But they say that to me because they care. That's what that means, you know? They just declined my card 3 times, bro. Damn. So, looks like the stage is set for Joshua, Dillian White. I'm not checking for that. If he fights Luis Ortiz, maybe. If he can get past Luis Ortiz, maybe it'll be worth it. But Derek Chisora, no. It's just not enough to me. You really think Wembley is gonna sell out 100,000 plus for that rematch when Dillian White's good, but he got knocked out by Joshua? You know? Beating Lucas Brown, you think that beating Lucas Brown and Parker coming off a loss? See, it'd be one thing. See, if they played it right, they should have made Joshua versus Wilder and then put Dillian White versus Joseph Parker when he was a champion, or try to get, like, let's say Joshua versus Pulev or Gerald Miller or some shit, and then Dillian White versus Parker when he was a champion. Because then if Dillian White beat Parker, which he did beat, if he was able to beat the undefeated Parker, then he would be a champion. And then that would have made more sense. Because if Joshua got past Gerald Miller and Dillian White got past the champion version of Joseph Parker, undefeated version, then guess what? It would be a unification rematch. That would have made more sense, but they didn't play it like that. That's what I'm saying. And like I said, as far as DAZN, they're going to have to make better. They're going to have to make risky fights to get popping off the ground. You know, Dillian White versus Luis Ortiz. The fans will give it up if he can beat Luis Ortiz. Beating Derek Chisora, he already beat him. I thought he lost, but, I mean, on paper, he beat him. I'm donating $100 now if you say Ego Thurman's the best right now. Listen, I don't need nobody's money to the point where I'm going to say what they want me to say. That's not going to happen. I don't care about money to the point where I have to sell my soul or say what you want me to say. My money's good. Money's good. That's not how that works. If you want to donate out of the graciousness of your heart or whatever to help the channel. But you're not going to blackmail me into saying what you want me to say for a fucking donation. I don't need money like that. I don't give a fuck about money, to be honest. So that's never going to work. Talking about say Thurman's the best right now and I'll donate $100. if that's the case, if we have to donate under stipulations, or if you have to donate under stipulations, keep your money, you know, because that's not what this is about. I don't need super chats to the point where you guys tell me what to say in order to get it. It's not how this work at all. You know what I mean? Because if that, I mean, I might as well be a fucking prostitute. You know, if I just got to do what you say and do whatever, you know, to get money, then I might as well be a fucking prostitute. Not me, partner. I stand for something. You do whatever you want to do for money. I'm not starving for cash. I was just playing, bro. I'm still donating. Damn, bro. Listen, it's text. I'm going off of what you say. That's all I can go off of. Like I said, you feel free to donate. Anybody can donate at any given time, but I want people to donate based on them wanting to help the movement. You know, not say what you want me to say. I'm not a puppet. Anywho, Joshua fighting Dillian White if he gets past Povektin. Ego buries old media in a genocide pool. Winning is not in old media's DNA. Keep banging, Ego. We just having funny times and fun times, laughing to the bank. Straight up. Everything is intact. Someone said, the Black Channel, they're a bunch of prostitutes. Listen, I feel like Tekashi, they want us to lose. They want us to lose right now. But we on a hot streak. I'm not saying we'll always get it right, but we on a real big hot streak. You know what I'm saying? A real big hot streak. HBO. De La Hoya talking about he might pull Canelo. This whole Eddie Hearn thing. We studied the patterns and gave you the forecast before it happens. You know? But saying Eddie Hearn's on tape, go to Fight Hype, go watch it. He's on tape saying Joshua's 2019 if it's not Wilder, which we know the problems that lie with making a Wilder fight. His whole 2019 is going to be mandatories. It's going to hurt Joshua's brand. If he doesn't fight Wilder Fury in April, the Wilder Fury winner, and he fights Dillian White, if he gets past Povektin, he fights Dillian White, and then he fights Huey Fury, Kubrat Pulev winner, then Joshua is his championship status is going to be like he's holding the belts hostage. Period. Most people are going to probably feel that way. Because there's no way. And see, listen, I told you, I already gave you guys the gift, the game. Listen, it's getting to the point of damaging one's rep. A side or not, you got to concede something. You know, you can try, like, okay, you don't want 50-50. I'm sure Wilder will reason with you. Give him 45%, 43%, 42%, maybe even 40%. I don't know. I'm not Wilder's representation. So I don't know how much they're willing to go. Especially if he gets past Fury. And if he does it impressively. But if you're gonna just keep giving them flat rates and lowballed offer after they offered you $50 million, and you're going to just say, oh, we try to make it with him, we got to fight Dillian White now, that is going to be horrendous, because no one's going to believe that. No one's going to buy that. You have to, you could be the A side and concede. Mayweather did it. So if Mayweather, who's always been bigger than Joshua, if he can do it, then how come he can't? Here's how Mayweather did it. Pacquiao, I forgot what he got percentage-wise, but he got 1% when it was all said and done. Initially, Floyd, in the second negotiations, after the drug test bullshit, Mayweather offered him 40 mil, no back end. Pacquiao didn't get 40 mil, no back end when the fight actually happened. You know, Canelo, Triple G, they tried the same shit. 15 mil flat rate for Triple G. Hey, it's a record payday. You know? Record payday. Now Triple G, he admitted how much he got. He said he got 30-something% the first fight as champion. and he said he got 40 some odd percent plus De La Hoya's Hail Mary. You know what else is funny? I just thought of. Golden Boy offered for Canelo Triple G 1. Initially, they offered Triple G $15 million. Wilder Joshua is a UK and USA vested fight, and the offer they gave Wilder was initially lower than what Golden Boy even offered to Triple G. Crazy. And that's for it's for a big heavyweight fight, in two different regions. Anyway, smash the like button, people. And one thing I'm gonna put this out there, and it's not to jinx nobody or nothing. I don't have to do I'm not Pacquiao's mom with the voodoo. Yo, we got it. Listen, I'm gonna end this stream. How are we at 77 likes, and we've been over 100 plus? Like, y'all just keep forgetting to like the thing. These vampire streams come at a cost. Sacrifice sleep and all types of shit. I can't even believe we're not even at 100 yet. I got to start keeping a better eye on that, because y'all be forgetting. But anyway, I'll say this in closing is I don't know. I just feel Joshua, the only way to right this wrong is fight the Wilder Fury winner. Nothing else is really gonna suffice. And the more Eddie Hearn does these interviews and Joshua, worse it's gonna get. Because it's not adding up. You're making it sound like Wilder Fury winner is number 2. Listen, I got respect for Fury. If Fury gets knocked out in the first round, I respect him as a man. Because he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to. He's doing it for his country. I gotta respect. Muhammad Ali when he dodged the draft or whatever. Religious beliefs and his personal convictions. He's like, I'm not going to fight those people. They didn't do nothing to me. I got Kaepernick taking a knee. I respect people that stand their ground. Everyone's against them and all that. They still do it. People are saying, Fury, you're a fucking maniac. Why would you do this? I respect him for that. I respect him. Because he didn't have to step in lieu of Joshua Wilder not happening, but it looks like he's going to. So even if he gets knocked out in the first 30 seconds, hypothetically, I respect him because he's taking the gamble. Joshua he has to make this right. If he gets past Povektin, and I'm just telling you, I've seen it. When these promoters start playing God and trying to extend it and manipulate it and marinate and let the shit happen and play out exactly how they want, that's when upsets happen, because you're doing too much. And then it also puts a negativity and a negative pressure on the fighter. Anthony Joshua, it's partly his fault. Even if this is Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn's construction, it's still Joshua's fault too. But because he's a big enough earner where he has to step up and say, Eddie, you got to make that fight. Lennox Lewis said the same thing. You got to be like, grab the bull by the horns and be like, Eddie, make the fucking fight. Like, you got me out here looking crazy. So it's his fault too. But just trying to, create this perfect storm that you want to happen. And, this Dillian White, AJ, undisputed it doesn't work. Like, you can't just manifest and make it do what you want it to do. If Wilder makes $50 to $80 million on his next fight, does that make him Wilder the A side? That's more than AJ gets for a fight. If Wilder knocks out Fury, he's the A side to me. Because, okay, let's analyze this. So y'all trying to keep me on here. Let's analyze this real quick. If AJ knocks out, hypothetically, if AJ knocks out Povektin and Wilder knocks out Fury, who would you say has the better names on their resume? Not the quantity of, not the amount of fights, but who has the better names? Let's analyze this. Who has the better names? If Wilder beats Tyson Fury by knockout and AJ beats Povektin by knockout, who has a better resume? Be ready for some hot seats. I'm about to body somebody. I can feel it. Keep voting. I'm curious what y'all think. I'm just talking about quality of opposition they've been in there with, to their style, threats to their style, shit like that. See? Old media looking shaky, baby. They kept saying that Wilder's resume is trash, and this is why they don't want the Wilder Fury fight to happen. Everyone's voting Wilder. Everyone's voting Wilder because they know if Wilder knocks out Tyson Fury, his last two performances put him above. It puts him above Joshua. Tyson Fury is not coming off of an 18-month layoff. He broke that spell. He already has 2 fights this year. And he beat Klitschko. The best name on Joshua's whole entire resume is Klitschko, coming off a loss to the guy that Wilder is fighting next. So if Wilder knocked out Luis Ortiz, which he did, and then he knocks out Klitschko, when he knocks out Fury, then he's the man. This is what they fear. You know, there's no... Who's the best names on Joshua's resume outside of Klitschko? Name his second best win. Let's say he knocks out Povektin. Let's say Joshua knocks out Povektin and Wilder knocks out Fury. Outside of Klitschko, name the one other name that's the best name for Joshua. If he knocks out Povektin, we'll do forward thinking and just assume he wins. Is it Povektin, Dillian White, Dominic Brazil, Joseph Parker? Which person would you say? Yeah, I'm sure it'll be out of those people. So outside of Klitschko, because we already know Klitschko is one of the best names on his resume, the best name. So who's the next best? Who's the second best? Someone said an old inactive Klitschko that came off a lot, but still it's Klitschko. Fine, fuck it. Either White or Parker. Okay. Now, look at the best names on Wilder's resume if he knocks out Fury. It'll be Fury and Luis Ortiz. Which, White or Parker, which one of them would beat those two guys that Wilder just beat if Wilder gets past Fury? Because he already got past Luis Ortiz, let's be real. So, Dillian White beats Luis Ortiz. Does he beat Tyson Fury? Joseph Parker, does he beat Luis Ortiz? Does he beat Tyson Fury? Okay, so Wilder, he has more fights. I got it. But if you look at the body of work, if he knocks out Fury, those 2 wins, his last 2 fights, would easily be competition that, in my opinion, surpasses anyone on Joshua's resume. Who thinks Dillian White knocks out? Who would win, Luis Ortiz or Dillian White? Y'all really think Dillian White beats Luis Ortiz? Do you think Dillian White beats Tyson Fury? Someone said White, Takam, Chisora, Parker, all on the same level. What are we talking about? You know? So it's looking bad for old media. That's about it. Because everything they say, oh, Wilder, he just fight 40 bums. Listen, if he gets past this other bum in Tyson Fury, he has a better resume, given all things considered, like when he fought them, who they were, what they've accomplished. Name someone that Joshua beat that accomplished more than and was more of a threat than Tyson Fury. Klitschko, but Klitschko lost to Fury. You know, he's the only one that's accomplished more than Fury that Joshua's beat. Charles Martin, he just got beat up by Adam Kanowski. Joseph Parker, he just lost again to a guy, Dillian White, that Joshua beat. So what are we talking about? You know? Who else did Joshua? Dominic Breazeale? I mean, does Dominic Breazeale beat Tyson Fury or Luis Ortiz? I mean, he barely got past Amir Mansour. Mansour bit his tongue off or some shit. So, as far as I'm concerned, Wilder Fury establishes the #1 person. Because when you look at Wilder, what he's done and who he's beat and how he's beat him, and then you look at what Fury's done and who he's beat and how he's beat him, those two, it's like Highlander. There could be only one. Wilder inherits all of Tyson Fury's powers, or if Tyson Fury wins, he inherits all Wilder's powers. You know, those cumulatively have done more. The winner of that fight has done more than anyone that Joshua has faced, except for Klitschko. But then, like I said, Klitschko lost to Fury, and that's when Joshua got him. So, name someone outside of Klitschko, because again, he lost to Fury. So name someone outside of Klitschko that has cumulatively done more than Wilder Fury winner that Joshua has beaten, because he's beaten everybody. So has Dillian White accomplished what Fury or Wilder has done? No, he's not even been a champion, and he's been knocked out. Two things that Wilder and Fury haven't done. Got knocked out. Has Joseph Parker accomplished more than Fury? Absolutely not. Has he had as many title defenses or accomplished as much as Wilder? Absolutely not. Charles Martin, you know, come on. I mean, what are we talking about? I know it hurts because y'all don't want to admit this stuff, but where's the lie? That's all I'm asking for. So, yeah, in my opinion, Wilder Fury winner, if it happens next like it's supposed to, they're the #1 person. Because you have to look at everything considered. Who was Charles Martin at the time Joshua beat him? He hadn't really done anything. Who was Klitschko at the time Joshua beat him? He was on an 18-month layoff coming off a loss where he looked bad in the fight. Right? Who was Joseph Parker? He was a champion with title defenses, and he barely won the title versus Andy Ruiz. And he didn't look good against Raz Cujano, who Luis Ortiz stopped in 2 rounds easily. I was there. You wasn't there. He didn't look good versus Hughie Fury on YouTube pay-per-view. You know, what did Joseph Parker, you know, we respect that he was a champion, but he was still developing. He didn't really, you know, fought for a vacant title, and he never, to me, Joseph Parker looked better before he became a champion. He fighting Tackums and shit. Tyson Fury, can he outbox Wilder? Tyson's a wild card. He has the size and frame and skill to do it. I think Wilder beats him, but I mean Tyson Fury, I thought Klitschko would beat him, and he proved me wrong with that. So Ronald Finkley said crickets, but supposedly they better ego. It's all boxing. Man, I'm done killing y'all cats. The Vampire Stream. Thank you for tuning in, New Media, Eagles Army. We continue to grow. We having a great time. Old Media, you got some questions to answer. You got to clean this all up. We, on this side, we presented all our facts, all our plan. We told you. So explain. How is Joshua still the #1 heavyweight for beating Povektin, you know, if Wilder and Fury fight each other and then the winner emerges? How? Povektin lost to Klitschko. Fury didn't. Povektin's not undefeated. Fury is. Right? Inactivity, cocaine, all that. You can say whatever you want. The fact is Fury is still undefeated, and he became lineal champion. Povektin, has he ever been champion? Shout out to Justin. He said, I'm still donating. Take care, brother. Yeah, man. You know, how's Povektin rated #1, but it only satisfies the WBA title defense? And Eddie Hearn just spilled the beans and told you before the Povektin fight that the WBO fight is going to be called in 3 to 4 weeks. Y'all got some answers to do. I'm out. The Vampire Stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace out, y'all.